Today, I'm gonna explain the movie Becky, released in the year 2020. At the beginning of the movie, a young girl named Becky is being interrogated after a bloody incident took place at her home. 2 weeks earlier, Becky is in school where she is bullied by her fellow students. However, she is lucky as one of the teachers appears, prompting the bullies to stop. The movie then cuts to a prison where a bunch of prisoners are attacking their fellow inmates. The leader, known as Dominic, offers one of them a knife to finish the man off. This prompts for a transfer of the gang members. Later, Becky's dad, Jeff, shows up at the school to pick her up. However, she doesn't look happy when she sees him. Becky's mom passed away earlier due to an illness, after which Becky became withdrawn. In the car, she plays with their 2 dogs, Diego and Dora. After a short drive, Jeff stops to refuel while Becky goes shopping, where she spots a lady talking to a young girl. This reminds her of her mom, and she heads outside to watch a video of her and her mom together. Later, they proceed with the journey, but Becky becomes upset when she notices her dad is driving to their lakefront house because he's put it up for sale. Jeff tries to explain, but she defiantly puts on music and ignores her dad's orders to switch it off. They finally get there, and Jeff reveals he's changed his mind. He is no longer selling the house, which makes Becky happy, and she hugs him. However, a car honks at the very instant, which Becky seems to recognize and puts back her sullen face. It's Kyla, Jeff's new fiance, and her kid named Ty, who Jeff has invited over for the weekend. Jeff then asks Becky to fetch Diego as they all head for dinner. Meanwhile, the prisoners' gang is being transferred in a van. One of the members, known as Apex, strangles a prisoner to death. Dominic mentions it to the officers, who pull over to assist but are attacked by the group. Later, Dominic is seen wearing the uniform and stops the driving man who has his 2 kids on board. He asks him about his residence, to which he answers he lives 1.5 miles away. He openly tells him he won't be using a gun to kill them, as that would alert the man's wife back at home. Back at the lake house, Becky plays around with Diego, who loves swimming. In the next scene, everyone's at the dinner table as Jeff breaks his wedding plans to Becky. This angers her, and she storms out of the house as her dad follows. He begs her to talk to him, but she ignores it and calls Diego as she walks away. Back in the house, the doorbell rings and Kyla moves to answer it. Becky reaches her Ford, and she gets inside with Diego. Here, she has another flashback about her mom as she plays her favorite song. As she moves some items, she comes across a key with a Volknut symbol on it. Back in the main house, Dominic is a visitor and claims to have lost his dog. Dominic delays his stay, and Jeff is forced to get him to leave and goes to open the door for him. However, he is attacked by Apex as Kyla and Ty move to hide, but Apex goes after them. Not long after, he finds them and breaks Kayla's phone. He has compassion and asks them to leave through the side door. Meanwhile, still in her Ford, Becky hears talk in the woods and sneaks a peek. Kyla and Ty walk through the woods but bump into 2 of the gang members, Hammond and Cole. Kyla explains that they're looking for their dog named Becky to hide Becky's identity. Suddenly, Dora appears but is shot to death by Cole. The 2 then escort them back into the house. Having seen that, Becky leaves her Ford and moves to the main house where she spots the gang members. Dominic leaves to search for the item he states brought him there in the first place. He finds a tin, but to his dismay, it is empty. Becky is then seen at her bedroom window as she intends to pick up her bag and a walkie-talkie. However, she makes some noise which catches Dominic's attention. She only manages to pick up the walkie-talkie. When Dominic gets back to Jeff, he now knows about Becky. He reveals that he is searching for a key, which all of them deny having seen. This leaves Becky as a suspect, and Dominic inquires about her whereabouts. Jeff lies trying to protect her, but Dominic shoots Kyla in the leg and threatens to shoot Ty too. However, he is interrupted by a call from Becky through the walkie-talkie, asking him to leave as she called the police using their neighbor's phone. Apex states that the nearest neighbor is 1.5 miles away. Since the walkie-talkie they are using is a children's toy, Dominic is sure it can't broadcast from such a long distance. He knows she is around and hatches a plan to have her come to them instead of searching for her. Soon after, Apex escorts Jeff outside as Dominic calls Becky, telling her to watch what happens when someone lies to him. They get to a fireplace where Dominic inserts some metal rods into the fire. He then calls Becky and explains that he lost an item that he thinks she found. As an innocent kid, she blurts out that she doesn't have his key. Knowing she has it, Dominic asks her to look at the fireplace as he tortures her dad. He then picks up the red-hot iron and burns Jeff's face. He offers Jeff the walkie-talkie to talk to Becky, but he urges her to run away. But then, he picks up the hot rod once more and burns his stomach, making him scream in pain. Becky gives in and rushes to her fort to pick up the key. As she rushes to the fireplace, Dominic gets distracted and Jeff manages to attack them both and escape. He sluggishly runs and finds Becky, who he asks to run to their neighbors to call the police. He is then shot dead by Dominic, who confronts her demanding the key. Angered by him, she stabs him in the eye using the key as she gets away. Dominic then heads to the house and instructs Cole to find her as he proceeds to cut off his eye, which is popped out. In the woods, Cole walks around looking for her before finally finding her and giving chase. She runs into her fort where Cole is unable to go as he's afraid of dogs. He then offers her a deal to throw the key at him, promising to leave her alone and lie to his fellow gang members to have found the key in the woods. This does sound perfect to Becky, but she becomes furious when she sees Dora's corpse, who had been murdered by Cole. She breaks her ruler into a sharp weapon and binds her pencils together using tape. She then leaves the fort through the ceiling opening and tosses a coin, which Cole thinks is the key. She then slides down a zip line and stabs him using her ruler. She proceeds to stab him using her pencils and finishes him off with her ruler. Back in the house, Kyla pleads with Apex to set them free, but she's interrupted by Dominic, who calls him aside. In the next scene, Becky throws the walkie-talkie that Cole had, which is then picked up by Dominic. He asks Kyla to call Becky, but she declines, saying Becky won't listen to her, and more so, she is furious at him for killing her only parent. He sends Apex out to find her, as she is superseding his expectations. Becky is seen at the lakeside, where she uses some ropes to set a trap. Hammond gets to her fort and is shocked to see Cole's corpse. Moments later, Becky appears, asking him to catch her if he needs the key. She then runs towards the lake as he follows her through the woods. He trips over the rope and falls on a block of wood with nails while Becky attacks him. He falls into the lake, and luckily, he doesn't know how to swim. Becky then boards a motorboat, which she uses to shred his body to death. Back in the fort, Diego manages to unlock the door and runs outside. Meanwhile, Becky moves along, but is terrified when she meets Apex. Diego then appears, running towards them, and jumps at Apex, who hits him hard, knocking him unconscious. Apex then picks Becky up, but she bites him, forcing him to hit her. However, he recalls the kids he had earlier murdered and leaves her alone, saying he doesn't care what Dominic wants. Diego then wakes up, and Becky rushes to check on him as Apex leaves. In the next scene, Becky moves to her dad's corpse, asking him to greet her mom for her. She also takes his car keys and heads to the house. She then makes a mark at the window, alerting Kyla, who is forced to raise an argument with Dominic to prevent him from seeing Becky. Kyla then hits him, and he almost retaliates when a car alarm goes off outside, prompting him to leave. Kyla manages to walk to the kitchen and finds a knife which she uses to cut off their bindings. Left with no other choice, Dominic walks to the car and opens the door, but is bitten by Diego. Out of nowhere, Becky hits him with another car, but she also crashes into a tree. The AI assistant in the car, named Kate, offers to notify local authorities about the crash. Later, Dominic finds Becky, who uses a spray gun to spray fuel on him, setting him on fire, but he extinguishes it before any severe burns. Dominic manages to hold her and strangles her, almost killing her, but she is saved as he finds the key on her neck. He then points his gun at her, ready to finish her off, but Apex comes to her rescue as he hits him. Apex is adamant to have Becky live, but Dominic goes for his gun and shoots him as Becky escapes. Soon after, Becky finds a lawnmower attached to a quad bike, which she rides over Dominic, shredding him to death. She then picks up his gun and shoots Apex. Later, Kyle and Ty meet her, and the trio wait for the police to arrive. In the final scene, Becky is still in the interrogation room, but denies remembering having committed the violent acts, which amazes the sheriff. That was all for this video. Subscribe for more content like this, and leave a like to help the channel out. Also, drop a comment down below if you want us to recap your favorite movie.